Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with yours truly, Tom Alvarez. Today's guest is actor-director Emily Ristine Holloway, co-founder and artistic director of Summer Stock Stage, Inc., whose mission is to enrich our community through theater by inspiring young people to learn, connect, and perform. Join me now as I go on the aisle for a conversation with Emily.
So I'm terribly excited for you. Wow, talk about someone who's really earned this. I mean, you really made it happen.
Thank you, Tom.
Did you say that's true? I mean,
well, gosh, I feel like
would you say you're living your dream? Or a dream?
I have to say, this has really exceeded my expectations. Like with Mike coming on board, I really didn't, did not expect that. When he told me he was going to apply for the position, I thought he was joking. So I'm really grateful, and very excited about the potential, that we have working together. So
that's just remarkable. But my whole point is that when did you start? When was the seed planted for Summer Stock Stage?
Well, I started Summer Stock Stage I started discussing it in 2003. Mm-hmm. I mostly because as a young artist, I wasn't sure how to piece together, as a freelance artist, how to piece together a career in Indianapolis. I was performing, but the theaters I worked at weren't producing in the summer. And I knew that I loved teaching, and I had some experience doing that. And I loved the possibility of working with young artists. So when I approached my alma mater and asked if I could start a community theater program for young artists, they were really generous and helped me get that started. And I think even by year 2 or 3, I had students from 20 plus high schools. Now we have students from 40 plus high schools audition for main stage every season. And we also have Academy, which is for younger students in educational theater. And then 8 years ago, we started Eclipse, which is a professional theater. And our vision is to provide a path from interested, young artists all the way through to work for professional artists in our community. So 42% of our budget at Summer Stock Stage goes to paying professional artists. It's something we're really, really proud about. And it is like the most important piece of our mission is that we're not a theater that necessarily serves our art audience as much as we serve the artists that have participated and do participate in our programs. The artists being the actors, but also the designers, the artistic team members, the orchestra, the set builders, all those theater artists.
So, but Emily, was there a point at which did you guys develop a strategic plan where you would get to the day where then you could earn a salary? Yes, but I think I really had some good advice maybe in year 7 from a mentor at the Lilly Endowment when we approached them, because we had a vision based on our artistic goals, and we just didn't have the business infrastructure in place to support those artistic goals. And this mentor told me that's how an arts organization grows. Always, the artistic goals always precede the business goals. Yes.
So I think what I did is I really kept my eye on the artistic goals and what I felt like our community could support and what our community needed. And also the artists who I have had the privilege of collaborating with along the way. So it was all about building a business infrastructure that could support our artistic goals.
Exactly. Well, in many ways, wouldn't you say that it's become a cliche, but in many ways, if you build it, they would come. And you did. And they did.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's super cool. I feel like there's so much, like what's been really rewarding is just the ability to interact with so many amazing artists. But I think my position moving to a full-time salary, like there's so much more room for growth as far as more community partnerships and more audience development. I've focused most of my time and energy on growing relationships with all these amazing artists. But now I think it's really going to be our jobs to be community ambassadors to help share that story with the communities. And, it's a new time post-COVID. I think getting people back to the theater is a challenge, but I'm up for it.
So would you say, though, in reality, haven't you been doing this full-time for a long time?
Yeah.
In reality, and you sacrificed a lot. Time is valuable, right?
Well,
but it's been a labor of love, of course. But the reality is that you have worked your ass off.
Yeah, it certainly has been. I think that's how founders of artistic organizations are. That's the game. But then in order for it to be sustainable, you have to be able to support it financially. So when an organization has the growth that we have and is able to pay someone an equitable wage to do the art, not only is that a reward to that artist or founder who's done the work, but it also makes their organization sustainable. Because then at some point, somebody can replace me. Is very important to me, knowing that there could be a legacy to the work that I've done. So.
Well, there are plenty of examples. It's been codified. It's a term. When I took courses at the fundraising school, there is such a thing as founder's disease. Be careful when you start an organization. Be prepared to let it go at some point and hope that the mission lives on beyond you. There are lots of people who will tell you that it's really a struggle when you have to let go of your baby at some point if you retire or you pass up. But that's the whole point. You want your mission to live on,
Right. Right. Much like a parent, the goal is independence. So I feel like that, this happened at the same time that I sent my oldest child to college. So the same year. So I wonder, I have thought about the irony.
I really admire what you've done, but just based on my own experience and, startups like the Phoenix. I was at the first board meeting, when Brian pitched the Phoenix at someone's private home. And, so when I walk into that building and after everything's transpired, I know what's possible. And like Brian, you pulled it off. I mean, that's something to be really proud of. Of course, you, like him, he always said, Tom, the key is you surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. And you've done that. People like Michael Moffat and Mike Ronick and your other colleagues. I've watched.
Well, yeah. Cherry Jeff, Marielle Greenlee, Chuck Gold. I mean, Becky Rober, like so many amazing artists. And then just to think about the artists, like we just had our holiday open mic night, which is an event we have every year.
I saw that.
Morgan Wood came back. She's been in Hamilton for the last 5 years. For the last year, totally playing Eliza. She opened the evening for us. And not only did she sing, and it was just amazing, but every other student who sang after her, she encouraged and supported, hugged them as they came off stage. So somehow we have just built this community of generosity towards artists. And it's really a privilege to be a part of it.
And there's so much I want to share from as an observer and having covered you for so long, and one thing that I've always admired about what you're doing, in lieu of the fact that this country doesn't have an arts or government supported, okay? And where do you train artists unless they go to get a formal education? Where do they? This is a place where artists can not only get an education, but also get practical training, on a consistent basis. And that's pretty remarkable. I often wondered, was there other precedents that you studied around the country, other groups like Summer Stage, or is this totally an original idea and execution?
I did do some research, and there are other organizations like ours. I actually went to Interlochen as a young artist, but I think one of the things about our program, our academy is a tuition-based program. We do offer 10% of our students are on scholarships, and we are working to double that. But our main stage is a free program. So it's a community theater. But it also is a highly diverse group. We have our production of A Chorus Line last year. We brought in the choreographer who set the Kennedy Center's Honors Chorus Line and set the national tour. And he said, I think this is his 7th or 8th production of A Chorus Line. And he said, I've never done a production with this much diversity in the academy. Something that's really hard to have, and also that we work hard to maintain. And part of that is that I just believe wholeheartedly that we cannot walk an arts education something for the financial elite. And there are so many programs that are just so expensive. Private voice, private dance, the schools, even, the schools that have really high achieving show choirs and theater productions, they're all fairly affluent, largely white school systems in our city. And I just think that there's a social justice piece to providing equitable arts education for everyone you still have to audition and be really good. But it's so important to me to be able to serve students from all over and all different kinds of students.
So, to my knowledge, I'm thinking back, you're right. I started seeing diverse casts on your stage long ago.
Yeah.
And so
it's not about numbers to us. It's about it changes the experience and it changes the story when you bring people together who have different life experiences, different perspectives, different, I think that makes that enriches the whole experience for everybody.
I interviewed Ben Hanna and I asked him this question. And I'll ask you as well. I know that the terminology has changed over time, so non-traditional casting is not politically correct anymore. There's a new term. It's a term that it really defines what you're trying to do when you put Black people in a role that was reserved for white people. And the audience, because it's acting, and at some point the audience crosses over and they accept it and don't question it. Okay, well, there's a Black person playing like at the IRT recently in their production of Sense and Sensibility, that kind of thing. Obviously, you operate in that because you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, it's so interesting because Mike and I just did this production of Frozen that North Central won the rights to do. And that's a school district that is Washington Township is 27% white. Right. So I felt really strongly as a director, like, I just don't want to do this all white version of Frozen where all these kids are going to come from all over the township and not see themselves represented in the lead characters. Yeah. So I felt like, if we have some students of color who audition, like, it would just be so great. It'd be great. We were like, yeah, so we did. And we were able to double cast the younger kids. Mm-hmm. And it just never occurred to me that we needed to cast an Elsa that looked like the older Elsa. Like, but people were like, that is kind of confusing that the younger Elsa is a person of color and then she grows up. I'm like, we all know we're at a show, right? Yeah. Nobody seems to be confused that boy is in a snowman costume.
Yeah.
And that person's dressed up like a reindeer.
It's about your
Nobody mentioned that.
It's about your imagination, and this is what it's all about.
How are we conditioned to be completely fine with someone playing a reindeer and a snowman, but we can't believe that person of color grew up to be that white person? We know we know.
These kids are in my neighborhood in Albeville. There are all of these elementary school kids. Many of them, most of them are bilingual. They translate for their parents. They're my neighbors, and they need a chance to be introduced to theater so they can matriculate. So, it's going to take a generation.
Because so many musicals are carry the perception that they're shows for and including white actors. Students of color, Latino students, Black students, they just Asian students, they just are not going to perceive that show has roles for that.
Yeah, I understand. But how do you get past that?
So I think what I really try to do is, because we audition our shows together lots of times, we try to pair a season that it clearly is a show, like Rent or A Chorus Line, or shows that are clearly not just lead people to immediately seeing an all white cast, and then we just try to put disclaimers on everything, that every role is open to actors of all ethnicities and types. And I think even just we have a lot of trans students now, and the implications of making sure that we are being inclusive with our casting in that regard. Because like you said, Tom, representation is so important, and it's important to be doing shows about these communities. But I think it's also important as we are retelling these old fashioned stories that, we love and our grandparents loved and our parents loved. And that's the case with a lot of musicals. That we're telling them in a new way that is more inclusive.
Do you have any thoughts about the Latino kids in particular? Is it a matter of talking to teachers, principals in some of these inner city schools?
Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, it just my common sense tells me that where you start.
I think even providing an opportunity like what our main stage does, which is a free experience, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes we have realized in the past, not only do we need to provide the experience, but we really need to be able to have community supporters who can help us provide an Uber ride or provide transportation, or it isn't for them to be able to participate, a little bit of extra work.
I don't want to get too far off track.
No, I think you're onto something, because
also last night I met another luminary, and I put him on there for representation. A Mexican-American Latino, Adrian Dominguez, a dancer with Dance Kaleidoscope. And last night we did I've been trying to do an interview with him, and, I don't know him well, but I can't wait to get to know him. We have a lot in common, obviously. But he said, Tom, he said, any way I can help get involved to do outreach so I can be a role model to young Latinos. He said, I did not discover professional dancing until I was 21. And I didn't discover theater until I got to college, because I'm blue collar and I see what you're doing. I would have killed to introduce theater.
I think it's for me, I would love to produce, one of, what is that Lin-Manuel early work that he did? Oh, In the Heights.
Yeah. Oh my God. You guys.
Oh my God. We would kill that. We would knock that out of the park.
That is such a great idea.
I would worry that we wouldn't want to fill that with people who were Latino, because that could be offensive. So it's finding that balance.
I really don't think so. If you have a good mix, I don't think that. I don't think
that's the thing.
I don't think it'd be an issue.
Last year we had this amazing Latina director, Maria. Amenabar, who directed Heather. And she really knocked that out of the park.
Oh, she did. Oh, yeah. I wanted to interview her. I didn't get around to it. So.
Yeah, she was great. And now she's at Milwaukee Rep. She's not able to come back this year, but I'm hoping that she'll come back again.
That's fantastic. How does that feel? Like the gal who is on Broadway, and they all stay in contact with you. I know that we talked about this before. That bond continues, it sounds like. They continue to support those, and it sounds like they have a network like the Songbook Academy kids have from all over the country. Michael Feinstein has created this network of kids who 10 years later are like New York, LA, and they're all in group chats, and they help each other with their careers and contract.
Because we have been so intentional about creating this. I mean, you can do academy. You can start in the academy the year before you go into second grade. So you finished first grade, you can start. So pretty much as soon as you can read, you can start doing summer spec stage. And we can carry you through joining Actors Equity Association because we have equity contracts. Wow. So, we have Eric Olson and I were both in Heather's last year. So I think because of that, because we have so many opportunities for theater artists at every stage of their experience, we have artists who have spent years and years and years with us. And all of them are from Indianapolis. So when they come home, they visit with their family, but then we are often also their other community.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That must make you feel good.
It does. And also, I love them so much. Having the privilege of watching them grow up and grow into a professional artist is amazing. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing privilege to watch. So I guess when you said, is this something that you dreamed? I didn't know that would be as rewarding as it has turned out to be. Mm-hmm. So, I was planning on being a performer, like all of us, I think. Right. And when I started this, I didn't expect to love it as much as I do. And I didn't expect for it to be as rewarding. And also, I think it's a lot of work, but it's
the rewards
is diversified more than performing. Performing is very physically exhausting. This is intellectually challenging, and I have a great job. I love my job.
Oh, I can only imagine. I am, as you know, I make no bones about it. I don't believe in professional distance what I do, although most of the people I cover are friends, and because of that, I'm an unabashed fan of yours. But the reason being is because, again, I didn't discover theater until I was a college student. Yeah, I had no clue what it is. I didn't grow up with any exposure to the arts, even though I went to Catholic schools. It was a blue-collar background that I came from. And yet, when I saw my first play at the Fort Wayne Community Theater, Civic Theater, shortly after I got into theater, so it changed my life. And so I feel like I've been making up for lost time ever since. And that's what I think about when I see those young kids that you guys have mentored on stage. It's the work that you do is, I believe, is life-changing,
Well, it's definitely joy-filled theater. And I think you can see it from our perspective. We love the art form, and so we inspire the young people. And they love it, and
I'm sure they've shared with you stories and anecdotes about how it's changed their lives, haven't over the years? Yeah.
They're young, so they're not quite as reflective as we are.
Oh, right. Well, how about the older ones? Do they come back and tell you, oh my gosh, you saved me?
Yeah, it was special to have our 20th anniversary gala last year because we had so many alumni. Kirsten Hodges, who was in 6.
Yeah, what's happened to her career?
Yeah, she's doing Dream Girls right now. It's not on Broadway, but it is at a professional theater.
I saw a Facebook post that she did. I remember meeting her at one point, and she was starry-eyed.
No, she's so amazing. So, but it was really nice. We had, I think about 20 alumni who came back. And and sang, and we're able to talk about just how the arts.
I wish I had known about that. I would love to come to that. But
Yes, we need to do it better. Now that we're full-time, Tom, we're going to have way more time to loop the community into what we're doing.
Well, listen, congratulations. I'm really happy for you. And,
thanks. And yeah, we'll come back. I'll bring Mike.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Mike is, I'm so impressed with him.
Fantastic.
I hear he's just an incredible teacher as well.
He's just incredible at everything. He's
So
a visionary person.
you guys are going to soar. When's the next show?
We are opening our season with Wedding Singer this summer. So our full, yep, it's going to be really exciting. Kate Galvin, who used to be the artistic director at Constellation in Bloomington, is coming up to direct.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. And then Music Man, Rent, and closing the season with the Lizzie Borden musical. We're doing 2 Eclipse shows this year. So 2 Academy, 2 Main Stage, 2 Eclipse.
And of course, I loved your Heathers. Oh, my God.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're the only person over about 45 because it was a little too, some people got a little.
It was so good.
It was so good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.